more curated conversation talking points? Will it inspire better, sharper, more consolidated debate? We'll see. It'll be our first try at it. So we're going to give it a shot. So come on in. Join us on this episode of Crafting a Chat. This is episode 13.
13.
Lucky 13.
Last week of October, close to Halloween.
Spooky season.
Spooky
Spoopers.
episode.
Spoopers.
Yeah. It's the spooper episode.
It's the oh crap! Hold on. Hold on.
Turn it tonight. Right now.
Not your bottom dollar. Spoopers.
Hey, oh God.
Oh no, spoopy.
It's so creepy. And with that, gentlemen, what have you been playing this week?
I've been doing a lot more Ghost Legends. I've been having a lot of fun with that. I think Adam, our other friend Kevin, and our other friend Chris. Is that still his name, Chris?
What?
Sure.
Or did he change his name again? I forget if he changed his name again.
Chris Redfield.
Oh yeah, Chris. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about.
Chris, Kevin, and Adam and I have been just having a blast on Legends. We're getting psyched up for the raid that's supposed to be dropping this week. Can't wait for that to happen. And I think the only other thing I was playing was a little bit more of Among Us, and that was it. Otherwise,
were you able to jump into any kind of Among Us games where celebrities were also partaking?
you know, I was not able to, but I was. I always seem to watch all the Twitch streamers and the YouTube guys, and then a couple other people who decide they want to jump in who are not streamers. They're just celebrities, or I don't know. I guess. Other types of people want to play. I've not had the luxury to try that yet. I'm looking for different Discord channels that have that opportunity to do that, but I have not come across any that are good enough that I guess they drop into those. They seem to be very well hidden, or they seem to be very well timed where I don't have a chance to do that. But yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Adam!
Oh
What
man,
have you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of Ghost. Did 2 hours today. Probably did 3 hours last night. Probably around 4 the day before. I've been doing a lot of Ghost. Just trying to get every character to level 20, going for that trophy. I think I beat Ghost of Tsushima New Game Plus this week.
You did?
Yeah, I did. Beat New Game Plus. Kind of just ran through that. Very funny how I took a picture of the map and you just see lines and there's parts where you get teleported because of the story. I didn't do one side mission except one that I was partially forced to do, but once I was able to stop it, I stopped and just did all the story. Kind of just just forced my way through that thing. Beat it in probably 9 hours or so, of game time. So I beat it real quick. Played Mafia, Definitive Edition, beat that. Going through, getting the collectibles now. Got a few more collectibles to do, got to replay some chapters. Then I got to beat the game on classic difficulty, and I'll be good with the trophies on that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. I haven't really touched anything else. So, yeah, Giuseppe, what are you up to? What buttons
Me,
are you hitting?
unfortunately, this was a particularly slow week for games for me. I have been playing a whole bunch of nothing because NBA 2K is dull and boring, and I've had it up to here with Vampire. I'm sick and tired of that game. It is broken and busted, not fun anymore, and I'm just going to put it away and leave it away for a decent amount of time. So there you go.
It's probably smart, yeah. It's probably smart.
Yeah. Weirdly, we have not heard anything about the PlayStation Plus titles for November yet, but I can assume why.
We'll probably hear something on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, Friday or probably Monday, honestly. Hey,
Maybe.
Tomorrow. So, we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be good. Hopefully. Watch it be Miles Morales. Woo!
Whoa, boy.
No way. No way. No way. That would be
that would make a lot of people angry. They'd be like, "Well, why?"
It would only make people angry if it was a Plus game on PS5.
I tell you what, though, that's not a crazy thing to do. That's
honestly, I think it is. I think it is because people are going to buy that game. If that game came out at $100, I think people would buy it, and like there would be complaints, but I think most people would still buy it. That's just one of those games. Yeah, that's just one of those games.
One of those games.
I said most people, Giuseppe. You are not in that group.
Most people would spend $100 for the miles. People are not going to spend $100 on this.
It was an exaggeration. Let's not spend an hour and a half.
You said it.
I think it'd be more of like if Final Fantasy VII Remake got re-released for PS5 as like just a launch title. I think people would spend $100 for that. Honestly, people are already spending $180 for it. Why not?
Hey, and with that, we're gonna reel it back into the structured thing that I was kind of alluding to already. We've already gone off the rails. So,
Yep.
For our first half-hour segment, Adam will be leading us. So, do you have like a timer on you, or
I see the time. I'm good. I should.
All right, cool.
It's currently 10:04. I'm gonna round up to 10:05
Eastern.
So
that's fine.
American.
10:04 American time.
10:04 American time. Eastern American,
if you will, folks. You guys heard it first.
In that case, Adam, the floor is yours.
So we're just gonna quickly talk about some little stories that came out. Some today, some the past couple days. First thing I want to talk about is not really too much feedback on this. PS5 unboxings. They're allowed. Some people in the media got PS5s on Friday or Thursday. I think they announced them on Saturday, actually. They've been they're allowed to unbox them. It's been a very small, like, hey, we're allowed to talk about one level in Astrobot. We could talk about unboxing the PlayStation 5 and holding the controller. So, not too much going on there. A lot of good reactions from people. It's a beefy boy. It's thick with 2 C's. I would say 3 C's, honestly. It's a very thick console. Just the comparison shots of that, the PS5 box compared to the PlayStation 4 launch box, ridiculous. Makes no sense. So, I just wanted to read a Jason Schreier tweet talking about the controller that made me a little bit excited. It's a short one, so get ready.
Ready.
The PS5 controller is wild. I've been playing Astro's Playroom, the game that comes with the system, and the combo of rumble... there it is. The combo of rumble, haptic feedback, adaptive triggers feel more next-gen than any graphical improvements we've seen yet. More to come in my review closer to launch. And then he follows that up with a very possible that all the bells and whistles turn out to be gimmicks that most games don't use, but this is my first impression. That got me pretty excited, I'm not going to lie. I totally agree with the second tweet, like, it's probably going to be bells and whistles, but, like, I don't know. It's nice to see an improvement to a controller that it seems like a lot of people are liking. If third parties use it, don't know. I'm still hesitant because that controller looks too big, but yeah. So anybody have any thoughts on that? Yeah.
I would say that I'm glad to hear Jason point out something that stands apart from everything else that the PS5 and next gen in general is promising in terms of like a gaming experience. It's nice to see something from a hardware perspective / a functionality perspective, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. That's going to be the true mark of this generation that we're entering. How well these machines play, because honestly, games are pretty beautiful as they are right now. I'm not suggesting they shouldn't strive to be more beautiful, because there's lots of art going on there. But really, this generation, in my opinion, is going to be defined by haptic feedback controllers, controllers that last longer, work better, less latency, hard drives that zoom up load times, like all of the above. And I'm glad to hear it from Jason Schreier.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Genesis, you got anything?
I seen MKBHD's unboxing of the PlayStation 5. He had a lot of nice things to say about it. He was talking about how the aesthetics. He was actually paying a lot of attention to the way that they put the symbols in the paint, and he's like, "This is so cool that they did all this." I'm excited regardless. I mean, I still cry every day because I don't have one still, obviously in my possession, as unlike you who already have one.
Yeah. But have one and paid off.
Yes, yeah. Don't remind me. I'm just gonna go cry in a corner again. But I've seen the comparison now, live images of it next to DualShock 4. It's definitely very, very unique looking in its own way. I think I'm gonna get used to it because I can't. When coming from the DualShock 3 to this one, it was a little bit different for me to get used to because I think this one was a little longer on the. What am I looking at? The handle portion of the controller.
Yeah, the handle. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
So because I think for me the DualShock 3 was a very, very good size and a good feeling controller.
Yeah, I liked it a
when
lot.
it got a little longer, it was a little bit for me to take to get used to it. But from the impressions that I hear from people, it's basically what people wanted. It's just more ergonomically friendly with a lot more people, and they seem to like the way it plays. And then everybody just keeps showing me that they have one at the doorstep, and every time I look at it, yeah.
You die a little inside?
I die a little inside. I'll go with that one. But
yeah, moving on from that sad train. The DualShock 3 I really liked as well. It's super light though if you ever hold one now compared to the DualShock 4. Apparently the DualSense is even heavier, but hopefully we'll get used to it even if unless it's like real bad. But I'm nervous about the controller more than the console, and that's really all I got to say. The next thing I wanted to jump into is there's an Assassin's Creed TV show, 2 of them being made. There's a live action and there's an animated series. Now I know Giuseppe's going to ask some questions like who's the showrunner and all that. Nobody. They don't have any of that. They don't have producers. It's just part of the Ubisoft studio, and it's coming to Netflix. And they released like a 7-second trailer of the Assassin's Creed theme within like the symbol of Assassin's Creed with an N in the middle for Netflix. So there's not too much on it. So any just brief thoughts on what you guys think about that? We'll start with Genesis first. Well, very brief.
Very brief. I'm not interested.
All right.
Well, let me just go ahead and jump in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, as it pertains to an animated series, okay, that's fine and all. Totally understandable considering Netflix's Castlevania series, very popular. The recent one that just put out with the like Gods of Olympus, or it's a Greek mythology one. I forget the actual name of it, but that just recently came out. Okay, honestly, I don't really care too much for AC in terms of an animation. I really am much more interested in seeing a little bit more realism in terms of the live action. And of course, whether or not you're familiar with or dislike the Michael Fassbender attempt at a live action franchise launcher in his feature film for Assassin's Creed, I'm curious to know if the showrunners of the live action Netflix show will be using that film, the Fassbender film, as some kind of barometer for what they want their show to look or feel like. My guess is they're not going to have nearly as much budget as that film had. But
what was the budget for that film?
It was, I believe, it was a modest budget, but it didn't.
$90 million, I think.
That's a very decent budget for kind of like an unproven franchise, but still had a bunch of names attached to it. There are a lot of names to that film. They just couldn't make it go because, quite frankly, it wasn't a really good story. The ambition of that story is just very poo-poo. But I think that the kind of story that AC is capable of telling definitely lends itself to a more serialized kind of presentation as opposed to a one-shot. Because there's so many different characters and so many different eras and history and generations. You can do a lot with it. The question remains, though, is how are they going, like, what's their ambition for the show? Do they want to make it action-based? Do they want to make it, a lot of dialogue and conspiracy talk? Because that can be as interesting, but you got to have action. The question is how much and how or what kind of quality? Like how much CGI, for instance? Is it going to be all soundstage stuff, or are they going to do everything as practically as possible? There's a lot of questions, and those things, like, will we be able to get a better gauge as to what the ambitions of that show would be once we actually find out who's going to be calling the shots for it? Because I'm saying, people, I don't know, I know Genesis, AC in general has fallen out of favor with you, and I totally understand why. You make all the valid points in the world, and that's totally fine. But I'm intrigued by an AC live-action show. I'd just like to see, and not only that, but I'd also like to know that the people calling the shots are as familiar with that game franchise as so far the people who've been running The Witcher are familiar with the Witcher franchise, not specifically the game series, but the Witcher book series. And so far it seems like that level of interest is showing in their product.
Yeah, a lot of unknowns right now, but I do think a TV show better suits it than, by the way, $125 million budget film did. Not 90. Look that up. So,
damn.
Yeah, no good.
That's a lot of money to give
it's
an
too much.
franchise.
$100 million went to Michael Fassbender, so I'm sure.
Well, that man deserves it for other projects.
Speaking of video game franchise films, we all got to look at Tom Holland as young Nate. I want to throw this out there. I think he looks way better than I thought he did. He still looks young, and what Giuseppe and I agreed on when we first saw it was that voice is probably going to ruin it. But at the same time, he was also missing the half tuck. And then Mark Wahlberg, he posted a video of him with a mustache. I hate Mark Wahlberg. I hope he listens to this so he knows that I hate him for his past crimes. So yeah, what are your thoughts, gentlemen? I'll let whoever wants to go first on this.
Go ahead, Jen. I'll go. Okay, sure, I'll go. So Tom Holland definitely, like, that shot that's been getting circulated out there looks good. I mean, it looks pretty close to the Nathan Drake we all know and love when we were first introduced to him for the very first Uncharted game. Definitely still looks young. I mean, Tom Holland is a young guy, and he looks it. Like, it's going to take a while for him to grow into his, man bod, as it were. I don't know. I don't think he's growing too much more in terms of height. He may be exactly where he's at for the rest of his adult career. And perhaps it's going to take a little bit of maybe a smoking habit to get that voice to bottom out a little bit.
Hey, I'm Spider-Man.
Still sounds like a little boy, which is perfect for him in his role as Peter Parker for films moving forward. But yeah, I'm going to have a little problem with Nate, sounding a little pipsqueaky. I mean, when he opens his mouth for dialogue. Mark Wahlberg showing that solid stash of his. My first reaction to that, and Adam can attest to this. Was gross.
Yeah,
I was grossed out by seeing it. Not specific, and I'm not saying that Mark Wahlberg specifically is a gross-looking man, but him wearing that mustache is real gross-looking. Like, it does not match right, like, at all.
He looked like he's ready.
Yeah, it looks like the bearded lady at the circus, wearing top of the line. Like Gucci dress suit or something, and then going into a board meeting trying to direct something. I don't know. It just seemed like that's the impression that I got.
I would have taken a gender bent Sully over Mark Wahlberg, honestly. So, Genesis, what are your thoughts on the looks?
I really liked Tom Holland's look as Mr. Nathan Drake. I actually like what he looks like. I think he fits what young Nate would look like in the real world. Mark Wahlberg, on the other hand, I saw his picture. It's okay. It's not that. Yeah, it's not that great. It's not that. It's nothing great. It's nothing terrible. I think it's just okay. There's nothing that sticks out about him that I'm like, I either hate it or I like it. I'm just in the middle. I'm just like, all right.
Let's just establish this clean and clear for this podcast. Mark Wahlberg is a pure and simple miscast for Sully in an Uncharted live action adaptation. Let's just put it out there and establish that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there agree as well. He was just simply selected because he was a name, he was available, and there you go.
How do you change?
Give me a name of who you would want in there.
I still, even if we're talking about redoing redoing the story from a film adaptation perspective, bringing it back in time, making him younger. Sully still has to be played by an older man. You can still have him be younger, but he has to be older than
40s,
Mark
50s.
Wahlberg looks like. Yeah. I mean, Mark Wahlberg is in his 40s.
He don't look 40 though. Yeah,
but he doesn't look it, right?
Yeah,
he looks like a roided out dude who's ready to do a kegger.
He's always ready to play a 35-year-old. Like, no, we don't need him.
Sully needs to be older. I don't really know off the top of my head who would be appropriate for it right now.
Well, I say when that movie comes out, we just fan cast it to what it should have been. 100%. Just go back and just. Yeah, this would have been good if Mark Wahlberg didn't exist as a human being. But, yeah. So. But, yeah, that's our opinions on that. I have one little news story, and then we're going to move on to my actual main topic. We're making good time.
Cool.
My little news story is the PS5 has sold as many pre-orders in 12 hours as the PS4 was pre-ordered in 12 weeks.
I did see that.
That is nuts. Not too much there to talk about. That's just crazy, and it kind of explains it's gone everywhere. So.
Well, I will say one thing though. Yeah. Honestly, I think that effect is 100% attributed to the overall success of the PS4 generation. Yeah. That PS4 and PS4 Pro generation has delivered so much goodwill to the gaming community in general overall, this entire generation, and I think this is the direct result of all of that. So PS5 owes all of that to PS4. 100%.
Yeah, it's all on Sony to I almost wanted to drop a swear, but we don't do that here. But it's all on Sony to just mess this up. So let's hope they don't. The main thing, I don't think so either. The main thing I wanted to talk about, I think, Giuseppe, you said you heard a little bit about this. Genesis, were you familiar with Stadia? The guy people saw him as, his Twitter bio states, his name is Alex Hutchinson. His Twitter bio states that he's like a lead creative at Google Stadia. He works in a studio that Google bought, so he's technically a lead creative at Google Stadia. He does not direct the company whatsoever. Okay. So, did you see anything about this, Genesis?
I did not.
So, this is a very interesting topic, I thought. Alex Hutchinson, he has two tweets. I'm going to read them both. The first one is, streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they used music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. The real truth is the streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use. When I first read this, I was like, I understand what he's saying, but he's an idiot. And I think most of the internet understood that, but Genesis, what are your thoughts on it?
Doesn't it? Okay, so let me just get clarification here. It doesn't, and forgive me for my ignorance, and if I'm, feel free to ridicule and point at me if I sound like a stupid idiot. But when a
so you want? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
When a streamer gets a game from a company, such as let's say for example,
Among
Diablo. Okay, sure, yeah. Let's say Among Us. Sorry, I just saw Diablo in front of me. I said Diablo. Among Us, sent out the copies of Among Us to these streamers. Don't they do that to publicize the game so that more people are exposed to it?
Yes.
So, okay. And yes, in the same context, the streamer is making money because of the views and the ad revenue and all that good stuff. I understand that. Mm-hmm. Why would they pay for them to get paid to then get paid for
but those aren't the only people that are streaming.
No, what he's saying is Well, there's that. They're not the only thing. They're not paying for a business license to stream it.
Right.
Like, if you want to use copyrighted music, you have to pay a company to get that music to put it into whatever you're doing. So if anybody else watches that, you pay them back. Again,
hence the copyright strikes.
Correct. Again, if what he was saying is correct, we would have to pay to use Minecraft to stream this.
Correct.
And I understand what he's saying if you think about it as a movie or a television show or something, or even music. But when it comes to games, to stream them and to pay a license to use that, you change it enough that I think it just breaks the copyright. It's just what he said just confused the internet. I mean, it made them angry. His tweet after these two was, "Well, that's enough for Twitter. I'm gonna go stream some Fall Guys. Come hang out." So I don't understand that either.
Does he really believe what he's talking about?
I don't know. Yeah,
he should have a license for Fall Guys to then stream that, according to his point.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. And I think it's also 100% reflective of the fact that there's a whole lot of hypocritical ignorance going on from not just from us at the internet, speculative level, but also from within the industry, from these so-called games creators. There's a significant disconnect there between the creators and community. And quite frankly, if such a thing were to occur, let's say that the game industry lobby, for some odd reason, were to petition the U.S. government to front this kind of copyright law, where streaming would basically fall under the same kind of copyright agreements for usage of unauthorized imagery and or music, without having paid a licensing fee. You will see basically overnight the entire community of gaming broken, to the point where the only people that will be left for viewing content via Twitch and YouTube and any other kind of social media outpouring will basically be these glorified extensions of these companies, where they basically subcontracted, indie social media influencers to be their ad and PR people without actually having to pay them salary. And all they do is just gift them with peanuts via free copies of the game, maybe some advance copies in the future, and maybe a couple invitations to special events, but that's it. And then they're left on to their own devices to get their own income generated by their own ad revenues or whatnot. But they will never, ever, ever be actual employees of either the game developers or the game publishers. And I think that's just a whole bunch of nonsense, because streaming and the whole indie, for instance, what we're doing now, even though we're not talking about Minecraft, this whole thing here is a big advertisement for Minecraft. It's giving us an awesome platform to use this software in a way that was probably not intended. But guess what? It's fun and interesting, and it works. You're going to tell me that these guys get what they want, and they want us all to now start paying licensing fees, as if we all have those kind of means to just basically turn all of our streaming businesses into actual businesses, and we're going to be able to afford licensing fees to just make that work. That's very impractical.
Those are very, very expensive, right?
They are not cheap.
They can be, yeah.
They are not cheap. They are not cheap. And honestly, the reason is because they don't want to make it available for any old Joe Blow to go down and just buy their material and then use it however they want. And then who knows if they're even using it in a way that's going to be a positive reflection of whoever owns those rights. But you lose so much in community when you break it and you monetize it to that degree. You're going to see the game community just implode overnight if such a thing were to ever come to pass.
Let me ask that.
It made me very upset when I heard that.
If this is the stance on obviously video games, if things were to happen that way, yes, I think the video game community and the internet would just break overnight.
Twitch would go bankrupt.
Yeah, it'd be done.
Absolutely.
Twitch would go bankrupt.
Yeah, Twitch would be done. Yeah, Twitch would be done. Why is it a differentiating factor then for music? Since that was one of the similarities or the comparisons that was brought.
Napster.
Okay,
Napster,
so
Metallica, file sharing. Basically, 100% of their product was basically being ripped away from them for no money being returned in any way, shape, or form.
mm,
And that's why, out of all the industries, the music industry is most vigilant about protecting the licensing and the copyright for their material. They have to be, because that's all they got. They don't even have music videos anymore. All they have are their crazy, performer personalities that go out and make a waves in the community via TMZ, and then the actual music they produce, and that's it. That's not the case with films and TV shows and video games. There's so many different ways that all those things can diversify. Music is just not as diverse in terms of its application. So
okay.
they got to be that way. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah. Also,
That's a pretty good explanation of it. Yeah.
also, if you play a cover of a song, most of the time you're not going to get a copyright strike because you've changed it enough. Which is something that I think that for video games, I think really depends on the person who's playing. Because if I watch Giuseppe play a game and then I watch Genesis play a game, I got two different experiences out of that. Because you
Right.
don't play the games the same. If I watch a movie with either of you, yeah, the experience is also going to be different, but the movie's going to be the exact same. It's just how I'm interpreting it. And that's
Right.
the same with music. Games completely change. And I can't wait until some studio, some indie game doesn't want their game spoiled and some big streamer streams it and they decide to take it to court. I'm curious to see that court case. I'm curious to see if the law agrees with us or if this is just some mutual thing that companies, like streaming companies, gaming companies, and people who watch streams just agree upon. I honestly don't know. And that's what I'm super curious about. If anybody has any thoughts on, like, just if as Giuseppe was saying, if a case ever came, that would be the end. But do you think it would be supported by the law?
Well, I would say, in generally speaking, if we're talking about the law, we also have to reference politics, because politics dictate laws. And what we've been seeing in this country for a number of decades and for the foreseeable future is a very right-leaning legal interpretation of all manners of laws, from the local, state, and all the way up to the Fed. So by that extension, you're kind of already giving big business the home field advantage. So, but this is the thing, it's not necessarily business versus the people. We're talking about big business versus bigger business. Specifically in this case, the game developers, game publishers are the larger corporate entities versus the beneficiaries of this streaming phenomenon, smaller companies like Twitch, and to an extent YouTube, but I mean YouTube still has bigness as a result of Google. So it's going to be an interesting battle to see it play out in court if and when. And we shouldn't say if. Probably will be a matter of when.
Yeah.
It just seems that with a more conservative leaning legal interpretation regarding any laws, seems to be ones that go away from the whole, artistic, integrity, the individuality of streaming, what that means for the viewer, what that means for the streamer, how transformative it is to the experience. You know what I mean? It seems like that argument goes away in favor of monetization, licensing, creative control, and breaking it down in terms of dollars and cents, and making sure the people who birthed the thing in the first place, whatever it is, by whoever it was, that they control more of that particular art's fate once it gets broadcast out into the global community.
Yeah. Genesis, anything to add to that?
I actually just had a quick, just little follow-up question. You were saying that the bigness of YouTube with Google, isn't Twitch owned by Amazon at this point now?
Yes.
Okay, so they would be a big entity, as like a big giant entity as well when it comes to things like this. But I guess the only other thing I would add would be just, I guess if things came to that, you would see the career of like a streamer be amounted to nothing at this point in time. I think if I'm understanding this
Oh,
correctly.
you can definitely put that in the bank. Those are the first people that are going to be immediately and adversely affected. Anybody that owes, like, is dependent on income generated by streaming, by social media, by influencing. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of people's lives ruined overnight and instantly. And honestly, those kind of right-leaning legal interpretations that will come in and sweep up when it comes to a licensing situation, especially for media, they're not going to give two hollow nuts. They're not going to give two hollow nuts about it, and they're not going to care that they're going to eradicate, a pretty lucrative sub industry for people that are, quite honestly, desperate for new alternative means of income generation, because quite frankly the economy ain't that good for people who aren't one percenters, and hasn't been for a while. It's not just a COVID thing. It's been this way kind of a while, kind of a thing. So
hitting harder now, I guess.
It is, but it's really not been that great.
No. Yeah.
It really hasn't been. And that's independent of its situation. So I hope they're mindful of that if such a legal battle were to ever trigger in the future. But
very exciting cast if that ever happens. But if that ever happens, it's going to cause a lot of delays. Speaking of delays, Giuseppe, it's 10:34.
It is 10:34, and I'm going to be ready to. I'm actually going to my smartphone right now, and I'm starting the clock.
He's pulling up.
Starting the clock is on. So, streamers and listeners and loyal subscribers of Crafting a Chat, we've had a little bit of a comedy hour from our good friends at CD Projekt Red today. Apparently, Cyberpunk 2077 has a little bit of a YLOD problem. A little bit of a yellow light of death situation, or more accurately, a yellow letter of death from our good friends at Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red. Apparently, there's yet another delay for the release of this game. No longer will it be November 19th, 2020. Now it stands at December 10th, 2020. Maybe. Don't hold your breath.
I think it's going to hit this one, guys. I think it's going to hit this one.
I think we're going to get a 2020.
I'm going to go to Vegas and bet on it. I really think it's going to hit this one.
I heard this news, and I kid you not, I laughed out loud for a minute straight. Probably more than a minute, because quite honestly, the CD Projekt has totally memified this game at this point. It is a joke, it is ridiculous, and quite frankly, it's yet another glowing example of the video game industry and its total lack of transparency in terms of what is actually going on with development. Can you guys not get your dates right? My goodness, how many ads have you seen that have had November 19th hardwired into the graphic media for everything they've been pumping out most recently? I mean, seriously.
All over YouTube, all over Twitch, all over everywhere. Well, Cyberpunk 2077 be the first to experience this November 19th.
I use AdBlock, guys, so I haven't seen these.
Well, I mean, I use AdBlock too, but yeah.
It's the game that refuses to get released.
Yeah.
This is slowly. What was the game that was kept getting delayed?
Last Guardian.
This is slowly becoming the Last Guardian.
No, that one went on for a decade and a half.
Yeah, it's slowly but surely. I mean, no, it's not slowly but surely. It's just a joke. It's just another ridiculous joke that 2020 has deemed the global community worthy of just, having to participate in, because why not? It's 2020. There's your reason. My goodness. Let's just turn back the clock a little bit and understand this game was originally set to launch this April 16th, 2020. That date was announced in June of 2019. Fast forward to April. Oh, no, guys, you can't get that. We're gonna do another delay. This time September 17th. Sorry about that, guys. No, fast forward to September. No, can't do that then. We got more polish to do. Give us till November 19th, 2020. And then here we are today. One more delay, December 10th. My goodness. So, yes, doesn't seem like Jeff Keighley is going to be able to do any kind of finagling to make Cyberpunk any kind of relevance to his Game Awards for 2020. It will be a severe coup d'etat if he goes out there and he says, you know what? Even though we're broadcasting tonight's show on December 8th, 7th, 8th, or 9th, guess what? I'm just arbitrarily qualifying Cyberpunk because it hasn't even released yet. But you know what? We're going to put it up there for Game of the Year somehow.
It will win one Game Award, though. I'll tell you what. It's going to win Most Anticipated Game again. Yeah, it's going to win that again. It's
back to back.
When I read this, I was like, this and All-Stars? I was crushed. I was so sad. So
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But hey, totally understand it. CD Projekt is like, look, guys, we got a huge burden in front of us. We have so many different versions of the game we need to prepare for. We need to get it ready for Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox Series S, Series X, PS4, PS4 Pro, PS5, PC, Stadia, Commodore 64, Atari Jaguar, Dreamcast, Game Boy Advance. Oh my gosh, there's so many platforms we need to get this on. We are the new Skyrim is Cyberpunk 2077, and that's basically the messaging that we got.
I don't think it could be the new Skyrim because Skyrim came out like 11 times. This has not come out once. So
that's right.
It's had 11 release dates, but it's never come out on one of those.
They've got big aspirations.
Yeah, they do.
So this whole thing is a joke to me, and I've been a huge fan and severely anticipating this game's release since its initial teaser trailer featuring that song and the woman with the blades coming out of her arms, and oh man, that was just that mashup of the imagery with that soundtrack. That was really cool. That was like that was a perfect encapsulation of what I want to see in a cyberpunk themed kind of video game, and I was sold like right at that. But this circus show that's been the release scheduling for Cyberpunk is just a joke. It's just an absolute joke. And I'm just going to go ahead and just send out this one question. I have a few questions here to ask the group regarding this specific situation. So, so as it pertains to CD Projekt Red as a software developer, they've had a lot of goodwill in the gaming community in recent years, mostly due to its work on the Witcher series, more specifically Witcher 3. As a result of all of this nonsensical, inaccurate, not particularly confidence-boosting, ever-changing release schedule, does any of this cause CD Projekt Red to lose any stock in your personal opinion for them as a result of this? Because this is their next big ambition beyond the Witcher series, and they, for as much stuff as they put out, they seem to be fumbling the ball a little bit here. So does any of this reflect poorly on CD Projekt Red as a company for you?
I'll go first if that's okay, Genesis.
No worries.
I never really, I didn't play, as we mentioned on here before, I think. I didn't really play any of their stuff. I really think that for most people this sucks, but they're like, if you want to delay it, make it better. They just hope it comes out better. It really depends on if the game comes out. When the game comes out and there's still a lot of bugs, or the patch that they're dropping is 100 gigs and it won't fit on the new consoles, then there's going to be an issue. Or if even the minor things I think are going to start to stick out to people, if the game comes out and there's a few bugs at launch, it's going to be like, why did you delay this for 9 months? Like, it just makes no sense. So I could see people already being like, I get it, it's a joke right now to make fun of them. and it sucks it's being delayed. But at the same time, I think if the game comes out and it's good, this is all in the past. People will forget and move on because that's how the internet works.
So does CD Projekt Red lose any stock, in your personal opinion, as a result of this?
In my personal opinion, I didn't have any stock with them.
So your answer is not applicable. Cool. Genesis, what about you? Does CD Projekt Red lose any stock considering these delays and then the fact that they don't really seem to know where they really are at this particular point in development in order to actually satisfy those dates?
My problem, I think, is that if they just hadn't come up with the dates in the beginning, I think if they just not given a date like that to start with, I think it's been more understandable. I think just delay after delay after delay, they're slowly but surely realizing that I think most of the problems are coming from not the next gen, but the current gen. I really think, and I think they said it in this the latest letter that's come out, is that we slowly realize that we've built a next-gen game here. And I think that the ports that they're making, the PC, the PS5, and the Series X ports, are all fine. I think that where they're running into the issue is trying to get this running the way that they want it to on the current consoles, which at that point, it's like, if you were gonna run into that issue, like I'm sure they foresaw something like this. They're not gonna just make the game and not realize by the end of it, oh wait a minute, it's gonna be harder to run on current gen than it is on next gen. Somebody had to at the HQ had to have realized this fact and said, hey, maybe we should stop giving people release dates and change this up a little bit to say, listen, give us the time we need to work on it, and when we're ready to give you a proper release date, we're going to give you one. I think that would have been a much more, solid and straightforward answer than the drip that they've been giving people and then constantly pulling it back and giving it to them and pulling it back and giving it to them. As far as stock that I have invested with them, I mean, it's like, they're coming across to me as one of the companies now that is like, okay, we make these quality titles, but you start to question whether when it does come out, if it does, like Adam was saying before, if it does have a few bugs, what did you do all this time to justify all this extra time? Because originally April, delayed till September. That would mean that there's a giant problem with it if they needed like 5 months at least. And then the delay again to November, okay, you want to polish, cool. Then the delay to December, you want to keep polishing, cool. I don't think we're going to see this game this year. And if there's another delay, I mean, that's just going to further solidify for me that this is a joke, just like you're saying, this is a joke of a company with this game.
So CD Projekt Red, for me, definitely does lose stock, and this is the reason why. It has nothing to do with what they've done in the past, and it has nothing to do with what we've been shown so far for the ambition of Cyberpunk 2077 for the present and or future. It has to do with how they've been handling this game's release, specifically in terms of all the intercompany departments that don't seem to be having the same time frame on their mind. They don't appear to be attending the same meetings where the heads of each department are, they get together and they kind of like gauge each other in terms of like where we're at in this terms of, at this point in development. Where the PR people are not talking to the writers or the coders or the level designers or the animators or the voiceover recorders or the directors or the creative directors or even the corporate people at the publishing level.
They have no idea.
None of these people are on the same page, and this nonsense with not being able to hammer things down in terms of an actual release date is evidence of that. Mm-hmm. And that is showing a company that does not seem to have its stuff together. Now that is independent of the quality of the real quality that Cyberpunk 2077 stands at currently in its unreleased state within the vaults of CD Projekt Red. Whether or not it's the second coming or it's just another pretty piece of trash game that ultimately gets released. Where they're at now is indicative of a low stock bad situation company-wise prior release situation prior to a highly anticipated game for years now. There is a story here, and I really hope Jason Schreier is given the opportunity to go data mining at CD Projekt Red, because I guarantee you there's a very like the whiffs of a very bad, stinky BioWare situation seems to be at the heart of what's going on in Cyberpunk. Again, that's total speculation on my part, but it seems real bad. It doesn't look good. It's not very confidence-inspiring. But moving on from that, regarding social media. So Adam had a really good reference about the tweets that Jason Schreier had to say. Interesting Twitter interaction between Penguino. It's been getting a lot of run out there from the likes of Young and a lot of the streamers out there.
It blew up on Reddit as well.
It blew up a lot of places. Penguino specifically asking Cyberpunk 2077 if that November 19th release date is a firm no backsies situation, just so that he can make sure that he requests days off in advance so that he'll be able to play that game on launch day. And Cyberpunk replied to him and says, "You're solid. You're good, man. Go for it." And the very next day, CD Projekt drops its yellow letter of death on the gaming community.
Mm-hmm.
That just solidifies the point of what you were saying before of, like, there's clearly people not talking to each other properly the way they should be.
What
There's
is going on?
Channels of communication that they're not aware of what the hell is going on in the company. It's not
ridiculous.
They're even in control of, I think.
It's ridiculous, and quite honestly, once whoever it is gets to the bottom of the story, I'm fairly certain they're going to get to some degree of information where it can be deduced that all of these dates and date shifting are arbitrary for not the reasons that we'd like to give CD Projekt the benefit of the doubt for, in terms of like really correcting coding problems or really fixing things that are fundamentally broken with the game for whatever the reason that it is. I think that all of these, I believe that these date shifting things are just much more arbitrary than, oh, well, hey, we just spontaneously need an additional 20 days to do what? What exactly are you going to be doing? And why? And more importantly, why should we believe you? Why should we believe any of that? It's more evidence to the fact that you shouldn't believe anything that the games industry says when it comes to any of their products. Because quite frankly, it can all just blow up, go away, and come back whenever they so choose. They're not beholden to the market. They're beholden to their shareholders. And if they don't release games that are supposed to be on their quarterly reports, well, they're gonna get hurt where it counts. But when it comes to the market, that's thirsty for their product, they don't care about that. So they're gonna feed us any line of baloney that comes to them, in order to just damage control it away. They don't care. And as a result of that lack of caring and lack of transparency, quite honestly, none of us should trust anything they have to say. Take everything that's ever delivered with a grain of salt. A huge chunk, a huge boulder of salt is how we should take it. It's ridiculous. It's very frustrating. It's dumb to listen to. It's just crazy. So, another question. Regarding the high standards, the pedigree of CD Projekt Red, this is actually going back to Adam, what you were saying, talking about, you had already briefly mentioned talking about, well, they've taken all this time and it launches broken, or it launches but it needs like a 10 gig day one patch, and then it's still kind of glitchy, or there's frame rate issues, or there's animation issues, or it's just you get to a point in the game, and your save file gets corrupted, almost like a Fallout 3 situation, because like there's a lot of data involved with this game. There's a lot of high fidelity. There's a big open world. Who knows how much information is gonna be having that kind of effect. How can we expect those same high standards of quality that CD Projekt has been basically recently known for? How can we expect those to carry over to CD Projekt when they can't even seem to get their release dates down? Is that something that we should expect? Genesis, Adam, should we expect a high quality standard from Cyberpunk at this point?
I mean, at this point, the way that everything's been going, people, God, I feel like the internet's expecting a Goliath of a game at this point in time. They just
I agree. I agree with you, and I think we're all very, very dumb to expect that at this point.
I would agree. I think the internet is also very stupid for expecting that, because I like I said before, I think it's gonna run and behave very differently than people have been led to believe from all the trailers and gameplay and all that. I don't think this is going to run or act or even show itself the way that people are expecting. But people are going to keep their hopes up, because this is, again, CD Projekt Red we're talking about, because they're used to this caliber of games coming out from them. But with the disconnect
I'm sorry, just really quick, but the fact that a company has put things out at a high level previously, we want to give pedigree respect. We want to have that be something that we can count on, that we can rely on. But this moment in history right now, in terms of the game industry, is proof positive that you cannot expect that. A new project, a new ambition, a new team does not reflect who came before and the excellence that was delivered back then. It doesn't translate. It's a brand new ball game, and you should just everything should be reset, and that includes any kind of goodwill that the company has garnered for its previous projects.
I just thought of a comparison to kind of go on this point. And it's with Square Enix and FF7 Remake. A lot of people, when they saw that game first shown off, and as we kept getting closer and closer, inching to the release, from the different model that we saw of Cloud to the end result and all that, people were expecting this game to not be able to live up to what people were expecting out of it. And yeah, there were still some things that people wanted, but for the most part, the praise for this game was very, very high, as far as graphic fidelity, as far as the gameplay, as far as keeping everything very up to what people wanted as standards for it. And they've made things in the past where some of their games are very questionable. Obviously, with Square Enix, some of the things are very questionable. With CD Projekt Red, I think most of the things that they've made have been regarded as very highly rated things. Am I wrong on that, or am I right?
They've been well received. They've been well received.
They don't have a very offset track record like Square Enix does, where sometimes they give those games the high caliber treatment they deserve, and then sometimes they dip down into the abyss of the hole of shame in there. And they're very up and down. And generally, when it comes to them, I see a lot more judgment go on with them. And I feel like even after this is the fourth delay, even after this, I still don't see that level of judgment coming. Yes, there are people upset. There are people upset, but a lot of people are saying, you know what, fine, give us the game that we want to have. I feel like people are saying that, and they're expecting like this game's gonna still be that amazing thing. Like, they're not giving it that level of judgment that I've seen other titles receive. And I guess it's because, like you're saying, they have a pedigree that they've earned from making all the titles they have previously. But I think as a person who, I didn't enjoy The Witcher, I didn't really play it too much. I didn't enjoy it that much. If I was looking forward to this, I think I'd have a lot more judgmental things to say about this, no matter how good it looks, because I'm getting delay after delay after delay, and the messages keep saying around the same thing. They're not really different messages saying as to
Well, it's
what
all
exactly
corporate
is
talk.
happening.
It's all
Yeah, it's
corporate
all
talk, and
corporate
it's
talk. Yeah.
meaningless anyway. You know what? You know what people are thinking? This is what people are thinking. People are thinking with each following major delay release, people in their minds, at least in the back of their minds, they're thinking, well, wow, Cyberpunk 2077 is now going to take an additional quantum leap forward in excellence.
Yes, that's
And
what
guess
they're
what?
thinking.
And
Yeah,
guess what? That's not going to happen.
it's not
That
gonna
is
happen.
not going to happen. I guarantee it. Mark your calendars, right? Mark it down. What is it? October 27th, 28th? Guess what? It's gonna at its best, it will be a very good game. But guess what? It's not the second coming. And the fact that it continues to derail in the manner in which it does, I understand it's 2020. I understand COVID. However, get your company on the same page. Stop toying around with the market. It's ridiculous. If you
Yeah.
need a whole additional year to write the game, to
Just say
fix
it.
whatever's broken, say
say
it
it.
and do it, and forget this whole, oh, we're trying our best to just egg it out. No.
Yeah, I would agree. 100%, I would agree.
So I have one last question.
Mm-hmm.
I have one last question I want to put out here, and it's based off of a nice little quote by Mr. Shigeru Miyamoto, who says that a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. My question to the panel is, does this sentiment, does this principle even hold water anymore in the current state of the video game industry? Is that relevant anymore?
You want to give your
Considering,
opinion first, Adam?
take this into consideration, the shift in the industry's focus to live service games, also the fact that many games launch in a somewhat broken capacity and require heavy patching and maintenance for a duration before they finally are deemed playable.
I say that quote still holds water. I'll go first. I say that quote still holds water because Anthem came out broken. No matter how much they fix that game's dead to half the gaming community.
Half, I think 90% of the gaming community.
I just didn't wanna assume more. But yeah, you're probably right. But yeah, I do agree that there's a lot of games like No Man's Sky that's fixed itself and has gained a lot of good traction, gain a lot of respect. Now you see videos coming out about it like they put out another free patch. Wow. A
So you do
VR
realize
mode.
those two examples kind of like stand in opposition to each other. They
I
both
do.
came out. They both came out in a certain way. One took advantage of the time to improve, and the other failed to improve regardless of time.
I do. I think some games can overcome it, but I think in general that quote remains like there's still people who are like No Man's Sky. Now that game's garbage. Like I've played it. I've played after 2 updates, and I'm not going back. I already got the platinum, but I ain't going back to it. And they already solved the issue of the underground. I was trying to build an underground base, and the ground kept spawning in it. And apparently they solved that issue. But at this point, I'm just not going back to it. And that game, in my mind, I remember it coming out as broken. I remember it just not being what everybody wanted. And if it did come out wonderful, we'd probably be in that instead of Minecraft, honestly, because that sounds cool as heck.
Yeah,
But
agree with that.
it's interesting. That quote is very interesting. If I had more time to think about that, I might think about that all week and talk about it next week.
Sure.
Just because that was so true way back when. But nowadays, I do think that games can get better over time if you patch them. Will they ever reach the height they could have reached if they came out completely working? No, probably not, I would say. A game has to come out ready, like Ghost of Tsushima. We use this every week now, but that game came out, it was working great,
Ready.
had some patches, and now it got multiplayer update, like, that game just keeps building and building and building. If that game came out broken, and then they added a patch, and then they added the multiplayer, people would be like, yeah, this is cool, but it wouldn't be what it is today.
Nope.
So, I still agree with that quote, but at the same time, like, there's exceptions to the rule.
Genesis, what do you got?
I think I have to disagree. I don't think that quote actually holds up, and I'm gonna use Ghost as an example because when did we originally see Ghost for the first time? Was that 2018?
Yeah, about that.
That sounds right.
Okay, so 2 years, and then we get the game. Okay, and there was only one pushback, and I think that was due to was that due to Last of Us coinciding with it, or just with just COVID in general?
I honestly don't remember it ever being delayed.
Didn't it move from where
no,
in June?
I'm pretty sure.
July?
I'm pretty sure it was supposed to come out in July, and then Last of Us moved closer to it, and then we were like, "Oh no, what about Ghost?"
Okay, I could have sworn that game got moved back.
I'll look it up. Keep going.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna take, I think, Sony's approach on how they're doing this. They give you, and it's the most recent one is I think God of War. Even though it is a teaser, they still have a 2021 date on it. It's a teaser. I want to see more, obviously, but I think they've stopped doing the whole here's a teaser 7 years before the game comes out, and then 7 years later the game comes out, whether it's a broken mess or a masterpiece, regardless of the fact. I don't think that quote holds up, especially with things that are being patched to be better, or even if they've been delayed multiple times, it doesn't mean that the game is going to be eventually good. It could still be a steaming pile of garbage, much like Avengers. I think that got delayed. I believe that was twice it got delayed. Twice?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That and Ghost was also delayed.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
You were right.
It wasn't much. I think it was like maybe a couple weeks. Not even
June to July. You were correct on that as well.
Yeah, nothing crazy. But Avengers got delayed quite a bit, and that game still came out to be the next Anthem. It doesn't seem like the development time that they're taking to delay these games to get them better is actually affecting or helping the game whatsoever. And I take that example from Sony. They're pumping out games like Ghost, Horizon, Last of Us, and the Uncharted series, and all their exclusives that have come out. Those games have not had bad delays. I think I'm okay in saying that because I don't think most of them have had tremendously terrible delays when it comes to the PlayStation 4 generation in a whole. Am I correct with that? Except for Last Guardian, probably.
I'm pretty sure Last of Us 2 was a 2019 game, then delayed till 2020 twice.
Was that a 2019 game?
Yeah, wasn't it supposed to come out like fall 2019? Am I making that up? Probably making that up. Move on.
I thought it was supposed to come out February, and then it got delayed till June.
Yeah, that might be right.
Regardless, though, what we're seeing in Cyberpunk is definitely different from those examples. It's definitely pushed itself into an echelon, kind of where it's starting to create one where it stands alone. Just really quick, because my time is officially up, I'm also going to just go ahead and say that Miyamoto's sentiment is absolutely irrelevant today for a number of reasons, but the most important one is that the game industry just doesn't care. It doesn't care because live service games are going to be the future. They're the future now, and all game development, whether a game is going to be a live service game, is all going to abide by the development cycle rules that live service games will be dictated to in the future. So it's not important anymore whether a game actually works on launch date. It just doesn't matter, and quite frankly, whether or not that game continues to get support and patchwork to make it work eventually is irrelevant, so long as the game gets out there, the money is made, and cashed away in the bank. And that's it. I'm sorry, Miyamoto. I agree with you in principle. It ought to be that way, but that is not what is happening. That is not happening, and it won't ever come back to that again. And I'm done. Genesis, you're up.
That was good speculation. Moving on to other speculation things that are happening in the whispers of the internet over here.
Good
segue. What are they whispering? What are they whispering?
So, I'm going to piggyback off a couple of Cyberpunk things here. Just to maybe... Yeah. To there should be one around here somewhere, and I feel like there was one before, and I would have brought him over here and then said that, but I couldn't find him. I was busy killing a chicken. The Cyberpunk, Jason Schreier was actually talking about he met up with a CD Projekt Red dev that they just clocked in a 100-hour week. That another former dev told him also that they saw some of their friends who worked for CD Projekt Red looking physically. Oh, look, there's one over there. Looking physically ill.
Did you not? Okay.
No,
he did flop it right in front of you.
Yeah, no, I was reading off of this thing here.
Gotcha.
So, if the fact that they're doing 100-hour weeks, and this is just him, this is just somebody posted what he was saying. Obviously, I don't know. I guess he did say it. He didn't. I don't remember I don't know if he actually said this or not. I think that was part of his tweet here.
It was.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they're pumping out 100-hour weeks to get this shit done, mind my language on that, I apologize, to get this garbage done, it's, I don't know, 100-hour weeks?
Only to get more delays?
More delays.
What are they? Yeah. Are they making progress, or are they moving backwards? What's going on?
I don't know. But the actual news was the rumor of that the devs at CD Projekt Red found out that Cyberpunk 2077 got delayed after the fact that the tweet was sent out. So clearly, your hunch on there's a very big communication problem seems to be resonating in the internet here. This is a tweet that was done here. They basically are saying that everybody found out either the same time that the tweet was sent or after the fact. So they weren't even aware that, hey, this is going to be delayed tomorrow or in the next 7 hours or 6 hours or whatever time frame they're running on. That's kind of crazy to wrap your head around, that your own company doesn't know that this is...
Question.
Yes.
Does the team typically know in other development studios that a game's going to be delayed, like, well beforehand?
If they're making the decision, I feel like...
I mean, like, the programmers and stuff. Do they typically know that, like, beforehand?
I would assume yes.
Only if their department heads that, because usually those decisions are made by the bigwigs up top.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily cycle down. However, I would think that before global messaging puts something out there, I would think that a responsible company would inform all of its departments as to those decisions prior to letting the internet know. I mean, it just seems that that's the responsible thing to do. From a corporate
you wouldn't let the internet. It's very similar. I mean, for the company that I work for, we had an announcement this morning. We were made aware of this 2 days ago, and the internet was not made aware of this before we knew. It was a day ago that the internet was made aware that, hey, we're having an announcement happen on the 27th. But company-wise, internal-wise, we knew. So,
but this is a rumor of one person saying that they weren't aware of it.
Jason Schreier had also replied to it, saying that all of them found out at the same time we did. CD Projekt Red sent an internal email simultaneously with the public tweet.
See, now that's a mistake. If that is in fact true, and Jason Schreier seems to be right, the simultaneous announcement for an internal thing, that is not good. That is not good.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. The next one I got up right after that is another company going through a couple different things. Apparently, 343 are going through a bunch of executive changes happening. Has nothing to do with Halo Infinite itself, but it seems that they're not getting the results that they need from the execs that are there. And they are going through an entire change. A change out of, it seems like just the higher ups, it seems. I don't see anything about others, but it seems like just the higher ups are getting all exchanged out.
I guarantee you it has a lot more to do about the debacle that was Halo Infinite than anything else. And usually, when people at the top have to fall down on their swords, that's a big reason why. That's because like some major malfunctions occurred that were attributed directly to leadership. And quite frankly, the Halo Infinite situation, that there's no way that should ever be allowed or condoned, and that's the direct result that we're going to see for it. Absolutely, it has to do with Halo Infinite. That it would be foolhardy and absolutely naive to dismiss that situation is totally disconnected from what's going on there.
Yeah.
And they deserve the 343. They deserve like all that stuff. All those people who were calling the shots when that game was being developed, when it was trying to be, realigned to launch with the system and be their big franchise boy, because they need a big boy franchise seller for their brand, and it didn't happen. That's a big thing. That's a big faux pas. Big faux pas. They deserve everything they got.
They got no front runner for Xbox at this point in time. They got no front runner at all. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that. But any other thoughts on that 343 stuff?
No, sucks if they are going through that, but I mean, kind of makes sense at this point.
Yeah,
probably should have figured that out a little bit earlier, but who knows at this point.
They got to get off their butts and care a little bit.
Maybe they need to crunch. Enough. You know what I mean? Maybe they need to crunch.
See, now that is a fantastic idea right there. Absolutely. Where are the corporate wings? Are they pulling in 100, 200-hour weeks? Are they being required to work overtime? I mean, I have no idea what contributions they could possibly have to expedite the process in any way, but I guarantee you they aren't working nearly as hard as the developers, as everybody crunching away on their computers, trying to sharpen the game up, animations, textures, graphics, all of that. I guarantee you they're not. Guarantee.
I got the next one up here,
Do it.
which is a rumor from Microsoft announcing a new acquisition at the Xbox pre-launch event on November 9th. They've been talking about this for a little bit, where there might be a pre-launch event. There was the tweets from New Zealand and Xbox Mexico going out.
Pretty sure that's a confirmed event.
Yeah, that was last week. Yeah. So there is a confirmed event. They're saying that this event's going to be basically either the acquisition of Sega or the another separate acquisition. But more people are putting their money on Sega. And Sega seems to be having a coinciding thing happening the 7th, 8th, and 9th. 9th being something to do with Sonic, and the 7th having to do with the next Monkey Ball game. So the coincidence that they're planning an event around that doesn't, it adds fuel to that fire for them to think that, hey, it might be Sega. But people have been saying otherwise. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Honestly, if it's in fact Sega, I love it. I love it for Xbox. And you know why I love it? Because that means Xbox is really gearing up. It's really rolling up its sleeves to bring back the console wars. Because quite frankly, its acquisition of Bethesda, well, not particularly noteworthy for Nintendo's business, for instance. Definitely threatens the game library diversity that PlayStation can have moving forward if Xbox ultimately decides to go exclusive with Bethesda titles. And Sega, while not a huge chunk of Nintendo's market share as it pertains
Sonic
to the software,
and Bayonetta.
Yeah, but yes, but I mean, Sonic has a lot of Nintendo tie-in stuff, his appearance and lots of things. That is Xbox taking a chunk. It might be a very small chunk, but it is a chunk nonetheless out of Nintendo's market share right there. And I find it fascinating. And actually, I'm actually a little inspired by Xbox that they want to go out and they really want to go, fishing for sharks.
Fishing for sharks, but they're throwing in. I don't know what they're gonna do with the sharks that they catch, because it doesn't matter. Like they ever do anything.
Yeah, but I mean, Sega. I mean, look, Sega's obviously not a hardware platform anymore. Hasn't been for decades. Right. But they still have IP, and that's what it's really all about. In the race for content, IP is king. because quite frankly, the people who are in those industries, perhaps I think the argument can be made that there's a certain void of creativity that's going on there. So if you've got IP, acquire the IP, and guess what? That's what Xbox is doing. I find it inspired. I love what they're doing over there. This is how they make Xbox relevant. You've got to scoop up some IP and make it your own. I love it.
Adam, any thoughts?
I honestly just don't care for Microsoft buying Sega. But at the same time, like, if they bought it, who cares? I don't see them doing it, but could see it happening, I guess. My thoughts are so, like, yeah, they're buying stuff, but they haven't. What's gonna happen then? Like, what are you gonna make a Sonic game in 3 years?
That's what I'm thinking. Even if they buy it, I don't.
It shouldn't take 3 years to make a Sonic game.
It shouldn't take 3 years to make a Sonic game, and it shouldn't take 19 years for a video game company to buy a bunch of studios because they couldn't make their own studios. Like, it shouldn't. Like, I get it. If they have to buy Sega, go buy Sega. More power to you. But I don't think Sega's the right move for them. The only reason I say that, Sega seems more like a family kind of genre. Microsoft seems to be going for the hardcore folks, if you will.
But perhaps it means a paradigm shift for them. Perhaps they want to evolve their audience.
They did the whole family thing. They did the whole family thing with Kinect and stuff.
Yeah.
It's certainly possible, but I don't think that's what they would go for next. I think if they wanted something family, they would just be like, hey, we have in-house studios who could do this now. I think they have bigger fish to fry, is what I'm trying to get at. I don't think Sega's worth it. I think Nintendo and Sega have good relationships, and I think Sega's happy with being on everything. So,
which will now be over, because it's not necessarily about the pure value that Sega brings Xbox as an entity in and of itself, but also the fact that it will no longer be an asset for a competitor. That adds additional value, unseen, unenumerated value to the acquisition. And quite frankly, it's probably going to be real cheap for them to acquire. It's not going to be as expensive as Bethesda.
Oh, definitely not.
No, in terms of like a value buy. So yes, it may not be in line with Xbox's overall library of titles, but it gives them diversity. It takes a chunk out of a competitor, and if they wanted to expand on the family thing and go revisit it and say, hey, look, there's potential here. There's a market for this, and there is a market for it. They just haven't put forth quality titles. There's only been one company that has been backing the kids, and that's Nintendo.
What's the competitor?
It can be done. They just have to want to do it, though. They have to want to do it.
Are you saying Nintendo's the competitor that they're taking a chunk out of?
Yeah, with Sega. If they turn Sega exclusive, yes, absolutely.
Their relationship with Nintendo, I think, is too high now to do that, because Minecraft Steve is in Smash. I don't see them doing this because I don't know. They would kind of break that relationship in a way.
It would break that relationship.
And Microsoft could totally afford to do it. I just don't think it's necessary. I don't think they think it's necessary. I think they could buy something even better.
Well, that may be, but right now, it's just something else to buy. And Bethesda was a huge buy. So,
what if you're saying there's something to buy better? What would be your ideal thing for Microsoft to buy at this point that would, quote unquote, be better for them?
Better than Sega? Mm-hmm. Capcom?
By Capcom. Oh God,
yeah.
I cry for that one.
I mean, if you're looking for a better company to buy, that one. I mean, and its slate of IP, my goodness, that's a sweet honeypot right there.
Absolutely,
Capcom.
Absolutely.
Sweet honeypot.
Squeenix
would never. I don't know. They would probably fight tooth and nail for an American company to take it. They'd probably, if they had to, they'd probably do some kind of a back alley deal with Sony.
Well, it depends on how
Sega's
much
not big
money
enough.
Sega's bled.
Sega is not Square Enix. Sega's small potatoes in comparison. They can be bought and sold for tons of times over, and nobody's going to sweat them. As cool and as promising as Sonic is an IP, that's almost all that they got going on over at Sega. So it's not Square Enix. Not Square Enix.
Hmm. Yeah, I would have to say it's probably going to be Capcom or something other than that, because if they can capture the Japanese market and they have Bethesda under their belt already, they have an even blend of those different genres that they want to go for. It would make Xbox a more diverse platform
I agree,
than
but
what people see currently. But that's
and it
depending on if
also
they want to think money into that.
and it also boils down to what they want to do as a company. Again, acquiring these companies, acquiring these assets are great, but what does that mean? What do you want to do with them? If you want to actually weaponize them and actually make them work for you and not with your competitors, you make them exclusive, you make them appeal to more markets, and you deliver consumers an experience you only get on your platform, and you push forward with that. But it
That's the formula
remains to
to
be
success
seen if
for them.
that's what they want to do. We still don't know what they want to do with these acquisitions. So far, all they've done is buy them. Now, what they do with them after the fact, that's going to show us where their ambitions lie.
Well, there's another rumor following up with that, with where their ambitions are. Apparently, they want to get into smart TVs, Chromebooks, gaming dongles, such as like a Fire TV stick type of deal. They want to actually put their hand into that pot now as well.
Xbox hardware,
Yeah, so
not the
basically,
platform.
right. So Phil Spencer had a interview with Game Reactor, and he talked about how he wanted to, after PC and Xbox having Game Pass on there, he wants to reach out and get even more bases. And now they've gone for Android with their partnership with Samsung. Even though their partnership with Apple right now is very rocky, they're also trying to get it on iOS. And the next ones they want to tackle is smart TVs, Chromebooks, Fire Sticks, Chrome Sticks.
So they want to get
like that.
into the business that Sony's getting out of.
Well, don't they just want to? Don't they have a streaming stick that they want to do?
Yes, they want to do an Xbox streaming stick. There is one that they want to do like that. That is basically what you'd call it at this point. Yes, an Xbox streaming stick.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, like what the PlayStation TV was.
Well, they don't want to like make hardware. Like they don't want to make TVs and Chromebooks and stuff. They want
No, they want to do the sticks that you can pop into these items that say, "Hey,"
okay. So
Phil Spencer.
That's a little different from what
Phil
you said.
Spencer just said in the future, like to support cloud gaming, we can just sell you a stick instead of a box, so you can just plug it into your TV and just take it wherever you want.
He did also mention that the Switch and the PlayStation, he's not sure as how those are going to be perceived as platforms for a Game Pass to appear on, but they're open to discussions.
Yeah, they're super open.
Not out of the cards.
So,
yeah,
it's not out of the cards.
It's
probably out of the cards, by the way.
Oh yeah. His overarching, I think, vision is a complete Xbox ecosystem. No matter where you go, you have it there. My only take on this is the problem that I see is Apple, Google, and then their competitors at that point in time, whoever that may be, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's Amazon, whether it's whatever it is. Apple and Google, I don't think would want that at all, because Apple has its own gaming streaming service that they're trying to sell to the masses. Same with Google; they have Stadia, and PlayStation is gonna try and bring whatever competition it can, for being a lot smaller than the complete division of Xbox complete division of Microsoft is, obviously. But they're going to bring whatever they can to the table to fight back at that point. it's clearly shown on PlayStation 4, and it's going to probably show the same PS5. I
What about
mean,
something? What about something even more practical in terms of like problem-wise? Like, what about the broadband? I mean,
that
what
is still
Spencer's
a thing.
well, yeah, it's what Spencer's talking about here is like just 100% pure cloud remote gaming in terms of the
And I think they're
actual.
going to run to the same problem that Google's been running into.
Right, right.
This is not available all over. 5G is still coming. It is more available than it was even just 2 years ago or a year ago. Vastly more available. Like I have 5G in my area now. Um, but that is still not going to close that gap for the missing broadband that people need to be able to play a fully streamable 4K title with no latency.
Right.
Because that's what they keep preaching to people, that it's going to be this latency-free future. It's not the case. You can't
No,
do
it's
that.
not.
This could be
It's
how
a
they reach
wireless.
like Japan and Korea and all that, like in the
I'm
Asian markets.
I'm
That
sure
could be a
they
way
can
for them
try
to
that.
reach that.
The
They
problem is they
release a
have to come.
cheap
Yeah,
stick. Hell yeah! Like, kidding me? So, like,
They still got to
if
have
you
the
got good
titles though.
internet, I
correct.
mean, they
That
Still
still
they
got to
have
have
to
the
have the
titles.
titles, but I
Because now
mean,
you're
they
combating
got a lot.
Nintendo and
So
Sony in their own home at that point. You're combating Nintendo, who has, whenever a Pokemon game releases in Japan, there's the masses of people who go out and get it, no matter what it is.
Right.
And then Sony, they're releasing their exclusive out in Japan, and they make good money over there for those games. So
Hmm.
they're competing with that, not even just the fact of releasing a cheap stick, but they're competing with the fact of, well, okay, we have a cheap stick, but they have all these multi-platform games that you can also buy on a Switch and a PlayStation or PC. And why would I buy that and subscribe to the service when I can just buy the games that I want to buy?
Mm.
That's I guess that's the problem. The only problem that I see. Um,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
that's he has a good vision for the future, but that is a very long way off, very long way.
And it's
Um,
also very vague as to how to actually get there.
oh yeah,
Very
oh
so
vague.
yeah,
far, yeah,
Very vague.
yeah, I would agree with that.
I would have to agree. I think I got like a few minutes here. I'm gonna go for the last one now.
Go for it, baby.
Um, Assassin's Creed China and Japan are apparently coming soon. I believe this is something that was dug up just about 2 months ago, and it's now getting traction again, obviously with Valhalla coming around the corner. Um, Basically, a couple of screenshots and an art have come out for whatever the Assassin's Creed China or Japan or both are looking to be. And so far, from what I've seen and what I've read, it is basically just Ghost of Tsushima. They're
Hmm.
trying to do exactly what this game has accomplished in a very, very massive way. They're going off the same Mongols time period. They're looking at the well, this is going off the Chinese actually, the Qing Dynasty, the Wang Dynasty, um, the um, the Chinese architecture and things like that. A lot of people are speculating that it's going to be either a dual release title, so there'll be like Assassin's Creed China and Assassin's Creed Japan, maybe one on one platform, one on the other platform, or just two different versions of the game. Kind of like how they did with what was that one? Assassin's Creed Rogue and Assassin's Creed Unity.
Hmm.
You could buy one. There were two different stories being told, and I think somewhere of a nearer time period at that point. So some people are speculating that, but my own opinion, obviously is going to stay the same. Ever since I played Ghost, I don't think I even have an inkling of interest in this. Even if they come out to be a even more amazing game than Ghost, I wouldn't have an inkling of interest in this.
So
So, go
yeah,
ahead, Adam. You got it.
oh, okay. So real quick, Ghost of Tsushima takes place around 1164 or 74, somewhere around there. The Qing
Yep.
Dynasty is like the 17th century, so a little bit different. Um,
Okay.
and then I don't know about the Wang Dynasty. I don't know about that
The
one.
Yuan, maybe I don't know, Yan.
Yeah, I don't
Yuan.
know. I'm not gonna even attempt. But yeah, I don't know when that one is. But yeah, the king or king, whatever how you pronounce that, that was like the 17th century till the 20th
Okay.
century or so, and then the Ming Dynasty started in like 19 something, 1910, somewhere around there. No
Gotcha.
idea. Watched a video about China politics literally like 2 weeks ago. But I like it'd be cool. At the same time, I can't wait for people to be disappointed that this is part of the animated series coming to Netflix. No, as someone who's stuck with the Assassin's Creed franchise, if you want to call it that, cool, I guess. Yeah, I don't really have much to say about this. I don't need another Ghost, and it could be similar to Ghost, but at the same time, they're completely different franchises at this point.
Apparently, Cyberpunk is working on Ghost 2 already.
What?
That is one of the other tweets. That's one of the other rumors.
You say Cyberpunk?
It's not Cyberpunk.
Sucker Punch?
Sucker Punch, yes.
Okay,
so I don't know why I know Cyberpunk. I'm
real
sorry.
Quick, what you're referring to is we're looking for a narrative lead, who specializes in like Japanese culture and stuff. It could be for DLC, probably for a sequel. Yeah, that's given. Considering how well that game sold, I would imagine.
Yeah.
We still haven't got confirmation of the 10 million units, but whatever. But yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this.
Sales numbers on that. NPD just released their updated. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I don't have too much to say on this Assassin's Creed thing because the next location really means nothing. It really depends on what the game is like. Valhalla, I'm still kind of excited for. Probably not getting it day one. We'll get it eventually. Maybe when it's on sale with all the DLC and crap like I did with Odyssey. But at the same time, I don't think I want to do all the DLC. That kind of took me out of Odyssey. So, we'll see. Giuseppe?
So I'm going to say that the actual location and time period absolutely do matter. And I do and I don't believe rumors pertaining to Assassin's Creed Japan at the same time. I don't believe them for the same reasons that they've constantly put out years and years and years to basically backlash the pretty zealous excitement over the possibility of an Assassin's Creed proper ninjas in the Assassin's Creed story, and then because they're a bunch of pricks over at Ubisoft, they just, in a very, very elitist kind of dismissal, they go and they squash those suggestions and anticipations as if that is somehow beneath them. And I don't understand why. Like I don't. It's like whoever's pulling the strings at Ubisoft has just got like a severe axe to grind with ancient Japanese culture that they refuse to lend this entire franchise to give it one chapter in quite frankly a very relevant setting and time period that blends well with their overarching narrative. So it just seems bizarre to me why they continuously dismiss that as a possibility and the manner in which they dismiss it. Very, very off-putting to me. Shows them as a bunch of ignorant so-and-sos. And that's the one reason why I don't believe it. I do believe it at the same time because, quite frankly, they're running out of places and time periods. Iconically, to actually go ahead and explore. I find this whole business about Valhalla and Ninja Assassin Vikings to be absolutely ridiculous. The only thing more ridiculous than that is setting Assassin's Creed in the future, and we're talking about assassins on the moon. Okay, that's the only thing more ridiculous than that. I think is a whole bunch of nonsense. But they are running out of places to go into the past. Places and time settings and circumstances historically that could be bent and manipulated to work in an Assassin's Creed kind of faux alt history story. They're just running out of options. So they're going to have to, by process of elimination, eventually get there, whether they want to or not, or they just continue this whole boycott of ancient Japan, and then they recycle back to the beginning, and we go back to the Renaissance. We go back to the American Revolution. We go back to ancient Egypt. I mean, like, whatever. They'll just play it over and over and over again. I don't know, but it's ridiculous. So I do and I don't believe this at the same time.
To end my segment here, I just looked up the year-to-date ending September 2020 for top 10 selling video games We'll quickly read this list off to you real fast. Call of Duty number 1, Animal Crossing number 2, Last
Which
of Us
Call of
Part
Duty?
2. Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Oh, okay.
Last of Us Part 2 is number 3. Madden NFL is now number 4, up from 6th rank last month. Ghost of Tsushima is number 5.
Wow.
FF7 Remake is number 6, down from rank 4 last month. Marvel Avengers is number 7. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, number 8, down from rank 7 from last month. MLB The Show is number 9, down from rank 8 from last month. And Super Mario 3D All-Stars is number 10.
Wow, Last of Us holding strong. Ghost of Tsushima still putting out a strong fight. Marvel Avengers, that's no good. Yeah.
MLB, who knew that MLB The Show? I didn't realize they did. MLB The Show put something out.
Yeah, they.
Well, it's the only way you can get baseball.
No, I know, but I mean, I didn't.
When did they put it out?
Baseball's just so irrelevant
August?
to me.
I think those games released in August.
This is year to date, so this is year to date best-selling.
I still find it really surprising that that's in the top 10. That's very surprising.
MLB The Show sells really well, and that's why it's coming to every console next year.
What, it is?
Yeah, Sony was like, yeah, our Sony San Diego studio will make this game, and we've actually come to terms because, like, we want this game to sell more, and literally, it's the only good baseball game. So it's coming to other consoles as well.
Well then.
That was announced like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago.
I just want to point out another thing too. How many of these games are Sony and Nintendo? There are 2 Nintendo games on here that do not have digital sales included.
Yeah, I can't name like one Microsoft game that came out this year, so that makes sense.
Right. There are 3 Sony games on here.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 Square Enix titles on here. There's 1 Activision title and 1 Bandai Namco Entertainment title.
Oh, that's technically Microsoft.
Bandai Namco?
Mm-hmm.
Bandai Namco is Microsoft?
I don't know, probably. Oh, am I thinking of Banjo? I'm thinking of Banjo, guys. Woo.
That's Rare you're thinking about.
I'm thinking, that's what I'm thinking of.
Bandai
All right, let's
Namco.
calm down like we've never said
Japan.
anything incorrect. Calm down, everybody.
My goodness. My goodness.
God.
But Activision's still leading the pack, obviously, because Call of Duty. But I'm happy to see Sony has 3 spots in the top 10, and Nintendo's got 2, and Microsoft's got 0.
Sony's got 2 in the top 5. That's crazy.
Yeah, 2 in the top 5. Yeah, 3 in the top 10.
It's pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
Very impressive. So good for them.
Absolutely. Good for them.
Good for our corporate overlords lining their pockets. I'm so proud of them for making more money. I guess.
Right. But that pretty much wraps it up for me, guys.
All right.
Awesome. So we're clocking it right now. We're at 1 hour and 40 minutes. So just a little over the hour and a half thing. But we also have to factor in our little intro, which did not spin out of control.
We also started early too. You gotta remember that.
We did. We started
at 9:56.
Right. So there we go. No, I'm not saying that we should just out and out end, but we can go ahead and clock it and say, hey, we are definitely capable of doing a regimented kind of thing. So too bad. Anyone, are you out there? Give us some feedback. Tell us how'd you like the show. It's too bad we don't have any of our extended friends and family on to.
We'll watch it eventually.
Give us some feedback. Well, hopefully they do.
I think there's one of the extended family here, but I don't see anything from him coming in right now.
Wonderful. Outstanding. So what does the panel say? Shall we...
I say we end it. Let's keep it short, Yeah, let's wrap it up. This was a shorter or concise episode, so...
awesome.
Yeah. 16 days for the PS5, guys. Just want to throw that out there. Sorry, Genesis.
Awesome.
My headphones should be here before the next cast, so I will sound different because I got those Pulse 3D wireless headset. So,
It'll be echoing in the chamber inside there in the Crafting a Chat building.
I'll be like, whoa! I'll be so immersed. So, yeah, get excited. Get very excited.
Wonderful. Genesis, you got any kind of parting words for us? Words of wisdom?
Do your best to get a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, guys. I mean, it's going to be tough to get one in the next coming weeks. A couple of retailers are restocking. Twitch.tv/crafting and chat. Everybody stay safe, stay COVID-free, and you guys have a nice night.
Oh, PSA, if you bought your PS5 through GameFly, they're sending out emails that you have to respond to by like the 29th of October. And if you don't respond to it, they cancel your pre-order. Kind of scummy, but just heads up.
Outstanding. And with that wraps up episode 13 of Crafting a Chat. From Adam, Genesis, your boy Giuseppe Jones. Everyone, be out there, be safe, be kind, don't be a dick, and enjoy games and enjoy life the best you can. Bye!
Bye! Yeah, youtube.com/craftingachat. I took a screenshot. I'll never get used to this, guys. Wow.